Frank, the one last thing that we wanted to touch on in regards to the offense is the Keenan Allen usage, because it's been a big talking point for the last couple of weeks here. Keenan Allen was the highest targeted wide receiver by Caleb Williams, 15 targets. He had 9 catches for 86 yards and, of course, a touchdown as well. Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze were both behind him with 10 targets, and then DJ Moore was fourth in targets with 7, obviously going very efficient, 7 catches for in those 7 targets. Frank, what are your thoughts on Keenan Allen being the highest targeted receiver by Caleb Williams this week?
I didn't even know what the numbers were prior to this recording. I know we discussed a little bit before we hit record, but even without knowing the numbers, well, I guess this is why it looks that way. He just feels like the focal point of the passing game still, even with Shane Waldron not being here. And I'm not trying to make that as a slight towards Thomas Brown. It's very clearly something they see in this guy, or maybe it's just Caleb's comfortability with him. But, I'm not saying he doesn't have a role in this offense. He can still do really, really good things. I like him as sort of a safety blanket. He almost made an insane catch with the toe tap on the sideline that would have been the catch of the day, probably the catch of the year in Chicago. But the focal point thing is what bothers me with him. And I sort of look at where he is skill set wise. How old is he? 32? He's my age. My knees are probably a little better than his right now. But anyway, he doesn't bring an explosive element to this offense the way that DJ Moore does or Rome Odunze does. Dare I even say DeAndre Swift, if you were to involve him in a little bit more in the pass game, just from an explosive standpoint. He's probably still the best route runner on the team. If not, he's a very close second to Rome Odunze, whose tape still is magnificent when you watch the All-22. His route running is very good. From an explosive standpoint, he's not those guys. And then I look at what Cole Kmet does outside of just the raw route running. He will never be the route runner that Keenan Allen is. But in terms of a safety blanket, in terms of what you can do to provide your quarterback, on 3rd and short or 3rd and intermediate or clogging up the middle of the field, do I think Keenan is better or that much better that you spent a 4th round pick on the guy? I don't know. I don't think so. So again, I'm not saying he doesn't have a role. He very clearly, makes timely catches. He makes fucking timely drops sometimes too that are very annoying. But he doesn't bring anything to this offense, or he doesn't bring what I thought he could have to this offense thus far. And he's on a 1-year contract. And I'm also thinking, are we even going to re-sign the guy? Because he's eating into targets to guys that I think are more explosive than him, to a guy that, in Rome Odunze, who I think is probably already should be the wide receiver 1 on this team. His tape is incredible. And he's also he has more drops this year than he had in his whole career combined, damn near. He has not had a great year in Chicago. So where I'm at with it is, again, I'm not saying flat out cut the guy. I think Caleb, there's value in leaving him here, obviously. Caleb trusts him. He's a sturdy target, but 15 targets. And there's been other games where he's been the number 1 targeted guy. He cannot be the number 1 option on this football team.
I think it's really interesting that he is the number 1 option on this team. Caleb clearly trusts him a ton, and it's fascinating, to be honest with you. The way that he talks to Rome, it sounds like they have a really good connection, or a good chemistry. Obviously him and DJ Moore have had their interesting first year together, to say the least. It's interesting that Caleb just kind of looks to go Keenan's way. And you're right, Keenan has had some just brutal drops, and he's not elevating the way that makes any sense to me, to be honest with you. He's just not elevating from the way that we've seen him be able to do. And it's odd that he's being asked to do these things. I think of that fade on the 2-point conversion, where it's that should be Rome. Rome is better at that than Keenan is at this point in his career. So that I'm questioning a lot this season. I would really like to see a little bit better usage out of Keenan and just more involvement again from Rome. 10 targets still really good. It's just the way that those targets, where those targets are coming. And then again, I want to see DeAndre Swift get the football a little bit more, especially in the pass game. Like he's somebody that you just have to get involved on screens, or even just direct targets like in the pass game. It's something I do definitely want to see a little bit more. I don't know how many more how many more drops I can handle when it comes to Keenan Allen.
I also just think of like from a diversity standpoint in building this receiving core. I'm counting Kmet in that because again, I think he could be your third down safety valve. He had a bad drop. Like people are gonna be, oh my god, he dropped one. I get it. People drop things. I totally understand that. But in terms of the role, I think he could do that just as well, if not better, than Keenan. But then, I mean, we're sometimes tasking Rome Odunze to be like, just take the top off the defense. Here's a go route. When it's like, let him take up more of the X receiving duties. Have DJ be the Y. I mean, even be like the Debo guy. He's coming out of the backfield a little bit now. And you have like elevate Tyler Scott. Let him be the go route guy for 15 times a game. Like I'm not a big Tyler Scott guy. I'm not saying like let's do. I'm just saying from what we have on the roster. But get a speedster to like make up for you losing Keenan and have these other guys play a little bit different of a role. Like I just from a diversity standpoint, he doesn't like. I don't know. I just don't think he brings what I thought he was going to bring to this offense. And I'm growing frustrated with it.
Could we not see Tyler Scott over DeAndre Carter?
Like, well, DeAndre's
really,
I know he had the mistake this past week, but he's a pretty solid return guy. He's been the best return guy we've had probably since Tyreek, yeah?
That was unacceptable. He should be fired. Cut. Let's get Tyler Scott in there. See what he's got. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Can we not throw, like, the lack of... I guess if there was one last thing that I wanted to mention on Thomas Brown, I need to see a couple more deep shots taken. That's kind of the next step I want to see. And again, maybe it's just because they don't have that guy, but then get Rome out there. Like Rome, I can do it, and Tyler Scott should be doing it. Though that's kind of his skill set. That's sort of what he was doing. So I get Mercedes Lewis off of this team, and let is Gerald Everett, is he alive? Did he go with Shane Waldron?
I think he left. I think him and Travis Homer both have gone home. They're back in the Pacific Northwest.